guys, it's Raul again, and I'm bringing you today my August wrap-up. In the month of August, I had a pretty awesome reading month. I read a total of 6 books and 3 graphic novels, so this video might be a little long, so let's just jump right into it. So the first 2 books that I read were part of a duology that I kind of already did a full review on with all of kind of my thoughts and feelings on this, and this was Avalon and Polaris by Mindy Arnett. I absolutely loved this book. For those of you that have already watched the review for these, I gave 5 out of 5 stars to both of them. This is basically a young adult sci-fi duology or story about these intergalactic thieves who kind of are sent out on this mission to go bring back the ship that has been lost in space and bring it back to their leader, their boss. And they are told when they find the ship to not go into it, to just find it and bring it back, and they obviously go into the ship, and the things that they find are very surprising to them, and this is kind of where the story takes off. I absolutely loved it. It has very simple writing. It's nothing too overcomplicated or anything, but the story is very good. I really enjoyed it because I felt like it was something different, and I just loved these, so check these out if you haven't, and check my review. I will link it down below if you want more details on my thoughts and feelings on this thing, because I thought they were pretty awesome. The next book that I read in the month of August was Volume 2 of Maximum Ride by James Patterson, illustrated by Nare Lee. I've been absolutely enjoying this series. It's just so good. It's about kind of this group of kids who are experimented on. They really don't have a lot of memories on their past. And all of these kids, the special thing about them is that they have wings. So they're kind of trying to figure out why they have wings, why they were experimented on, and all of these things, where they came from, their pasts. And this volume really got into more detail on their backstory and where they came from and kind of what's been going on and the complications of, the laboratory that they call the school. It's just so good. It's been so awesome. The artwork is amazing. I really enjoyed the first one, and I gave the second volume 5 out of 5 stars again. It was just a great continuation to an already awesome story, and I absolutely loved it. I'm excited to get to the next volume in the series. The next book that I read for the month of August was The Winner's Curse by Marie Rakowski, and holy crap, this book was amazing. The writing was beautiful. Everything was just, the world, it was mesmerizing. There was something about this book that from the minute I started reading it, I was hooked. The first day I read about 120 pages or so of this book, and I don't read that much in one day, and this book was just absolutely amazing, so well written, so well done. I enjoyed the love story because it wasn't insta-lovey in here at all. It really took its time. It is about this girl named Kestrel, who's the general's daughter, and is about to turn 18, and she has the choice of joining the army or getting married. So she doesn't want to do either or, and is kind of a little bit rebellious about her dad. And one day she is out kind of about in the town, and she stumbles upon the slave auction. And slaves is like a legal thing. Everyone here kind of, all the rich people have slaves and they buy slaves. So she stumbles upon the slave auction and purchases a slave. And, eventually kind of the story takes off from there, and obviously, she begins to fall for the guy, or she's not really sure about her feelings for him, and, things kind of happen, and it's so good. Lots of political intrigue, and it's so good, so well written. I absolutely love Marie Rakowski's writing, and I'm really, really excited to get to The Winner's Crime, which is the second book in the series, because I've heard a lot of people really, really enjoying The Winner's Crime, and they say that the second book is just as good as this first one. So I'm very, very excited to continue on with the series because I just absolutely loved it. Loved it. 5 out of 5 stars if you hadn't already guessed. The next book that I read for the month of August was Daughter and Smoking Bone by Laini Taylor, and I'm very torn about this book. It's a lot of people don't really explain too much about it here on BookTube, but it's basically about this girl who has blue hair. She doesn't really have a lot of memory about her past either, and she is kind of collecting teeth for this creature named Brimstone. She doesn't know why she's going out to collect these teeth, and is surrounded kind of by these creatures that are her family. And I don't know, everyone loves this book here on BookTube, and I can kind of see why. I mean, the writing is very beautiful, as everyone was saying. It really is very, very well written. I don't know, I didn't really fall for the characters very well. The plot I didn't find was that interesting. I mean, I don't really want to get into too much of the plot because for those of you who haven't read it or still want to read it, I don't want to spoil it for you, so not too much plot detail here at least, but I don't know. There was just, I felt like it was a little cliche maybe, and it just wasn't, I don't know, it just wasn't my thing. I didn't really enjoy, like I said, the characters or really the love story. Eventually, when they reveal to you kind of why these two main characters have the attraction for each other, I felt it was very, very insta-lovey. There was, like, no real basis or foundation. I, I don't know. It was okay. I wanted to continue on with this series for the rest of the month, but after reading this first one, I kind of gave myself a little break. I mean, I think I'll eventually pick up the next one in this series, which is Days of Blood and Starlight. But I'll give myself a little break for now. I mean, I didn't absolutely love it. I gave this a 3. And this was mainly because of the writing, because the writing was really good. But I don't know, like I said, it had its potential. Like, it started off and it was giving you kind of little snippets of what this could potentially be and where it could go and how the story could develop, but I felt like it didn't really develop, and I've heard that there are some problems in the next book that I feel that I will find a little bit annoying. So that's why I'm giving it, I'm putting it off until a little bit later for now, because I don't know, I didn't love this book. I wanted to love this book because so many people out there have loved this book, but I didn't, like I said, 3 out of 5 stars, it was okay for me, so, yeah. The next book that I read in the month of August was Amulet Volume 1 by, where is it? Kazu Kibuishi. Yeah. This is a graphic novel series, middle grade graphic novel series, about these kids who are moved to this new house and kind of find these things at this weird house. It's kind of like the Chronicles of Narnia kind of thing. So they are in this house and they find these things and are transported into this new world and have to go try and save their mom. It was awesome. The artwork in here was great. The story was very gripping. I really liked it. Like I said, it was middle grade, so there's nothing too violent. There's no real sexual content at all. I loved this one. It was so good. It was so well done, so well written. Like I said, the artwork was just so cool. I'm really excited to get to the next one. I read this during a very long car ride because I took a road trip at the end of this month, or the end of last month. Last month. And I read this on the car ride to and from my destination, and I loved it. I finished reading it, and then my brother saw that it was a graphic novel, and he doesn't really read at all, and absolutely loved this one also, so I'm very excited that I was able to get him into reading graphic novels, because he really enjoyed it, and I did, and we both kind of want to get to Volume 2 to see what happens, because this was recommended to me by Kristin from Captain United Next. She told me to read these, and thank you, Kristin. This was awesome. 5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read in the month of August, I want to take a little bit of time to talk about, because this book was written by 2 different authors who are fellow booktubers here on BookTube that I watched their videos and I absolutely, absolutely loved them. One of them is Chris from Christoria 2027, and the other one is Mark from Dingback Dollface. I will link both of their pages down below. But this book is Bird Snatch Volume 1, and this is a kind of new series that these 2 authors have created, called A Tale Told Twice is the name of the series, and their first volume being Bird Snatch. And this is basically where each author takes a title and kind of creates a story revolving around that title. So these are short stories. This is only about 120 something pages long. I absolutely loved this book. This falls kind of in the category of maybe bizarro kind of sci-fi fiction. So go into it kind of with an open mind if you do end up picking it up, because there are a couple of weird things in it, but I loved it. I absolutely loved it. The first story in here is about kind of in a post-apocalyptic world and a main character who is somewhat of a villain, so he's not very likable. But I think he was written that way on purpose because he is supposed to be the villain who meets up with this other character, this rebellious girl, and they both kind of go together and have like this small little adventure. It is a short story, so it's not very long, and I don't really want to go into too much detail because I don't want to spoil it because it's so short. The writing was absolutely awesome. Chris, C.J. Cummings, is absolutely an amazing writer. I loved his writing style. It's so good. It's so well written, so well done. And I loved it. And then Mark Ryan's version of Bird Snatch is about kind of a crime wave going on with like plastic surgery. It sounds weird. It is weird. You have like these supervillains that show up because of these kind of modified enhancements they have in their bodies because of these plastic surgeries. So cool. It really is so cool, and I would have loved to kind of read an entire series about these, because you have like the main character who is kind of like on this team, and they go out and they fight these villains, and you've got, you know, all of her team members and everything. It's just so cool. I would love to hear or to read a series about these characters and about kind of the things that they get into and these weird creatures that they encounter, because I thought it was so awesome. Unlike C.J. Cummings' writing, which is Chris is more kind of in your face. He's very direct, like I said, very great writer, very detailed, but he's more direct. As to Mark Ryan, he's more subtle. Like, you kind of have to, I found myself having to reread kind of the last page after I was done, because I felt like I missed something and I had to go back and read it again. So it was a little, his writing is a little bit more subtle, that you have to kind of pay more attention to, which I also enjoyed. Like, I did not mind having to go back and saying, wait, I think I missed something, and rereading that last page. I thought it was awesome. These are both amazing writers. I'm so excited. They both have solo work coming out, short story anthologies that I'm really excited for. If you guys have not checked out Chris Story 2027 and Dingbat Dollface, I will link both of their pages down below. I think they are awesome writers. I'm very excited, and you guys should go support our fellow booktubers who are writers out there, because I think these were great. So if this is something that interests you, kind of strange, weird, sci-fi fiction, this is definitely something that I would pick up, because it was amazing. 5 out of 5 stars for these stories. They were just so good. And the last book that I read in the month of, or no, not the last book. Wait, I have one more after this. Never mind, I have 2 books. The first to last book that I read in the month of August was Nimona by Noelle Stephens. I do not have this book with me physically, because like I said, my brother, I got him into graphic novels, and after we were finished with our trip, or after we got back from our trip, he took that one with him because he wanted to then read Nimona. I absolutely loved it. I mean, a lot of people have been talking about Nimona here on BookTube, and they've been saying how much they've been enjoying this book, and I don't blame them. This is just such an amazing graphic novel. It is about this girl named Nimona who kind of wants to be the sidekick to this evil villain, and she has kind of, you know, these little evil tendencies, but it's just so great the way that this graphic novel was done. The art style was very cartoony, very simple, very good. The only one complaint that I have on this is that the font was a little small, and I know this isn't a huge complaint for a lot of people, but me not, you know, having my eyesight problem, it was a little difficult for me to sometimes to read the really small type that was on some of these pages. So that's like my only issue on it, but the story itself, the artwork, everything was just so good. I don't want to get into too much detail because I don't want to spoil it, but I know she is a shapeshifter, so it's kind of, you know, there are all of these little elements that kind of come into play with this graphic novel, and I just absolutely loved it. 5 out of 5 stars again. It was just so good and so wonderful, and I just absolutely loved it. And the last book that I read in the month of August was We All Looked Up by Tommy Wallach. I purchased this book on my Nook because it was on a daily deal, and I believe it's still $1.99 on Nook and on Kindle, if I'm not mistaken. I actually finished reading this book on September 1st, but it was only a day into September, and I figured I hadn't made my video yet, so I'm just going to go ahead and talk about it in my August wrap-up. This book is now one of my favorite books of all time. It's so good, and I'm definitely going to do a full review because there's so many thoughts and feelings, and I don't want this video to be 20 minutes long. It is about a group of teenagers. It's in the perspective of these 4 teenagers, and there is an asteroid that is about to hit Earth. So these teenagers, you know, they have like their different types of personalities. One of them is kind of like the slacker, they have the overachiever, you've got like the school slut, and then you have the jock. And they kind of all encounter this situation where Earth is going to end in 2 months, and now their lives kind of change. I don't know how to explain it. Like I said, I don't want to go into too much detail with this because I do want to do a full review because I loved this book so much. And there are so many things that are brought up, so many feelings and thoughts that are brought up in this book that I just absolutely loved and want to share more in detail with you. So I won't go into too much detail other than that with the, the asteroid that's going to hit Earth. Everyone has kind of there's a 66.6% chance that it will hit Earth and destroy all life. So it's crazy, the things that kind of happen, later on. The character development in this was just absolutely wonderful. It was awesome. The writing was beautiful. It was a little, there were a couple of situations in there that I felt was a little juvenile and maybe a little childish, but these were, kids in high school. If I were younger, I probably would have enjoyed these situations more. They were a little, sometimes they were a little on the immature side, but like I said, they're high school kids. They're about 17 years old. I'm 11 years older than that. So that was kind of my only issue, but everything else kind of trumps it. The kind of storyline, the character development, the writing, everything definitely trumps the fact that, some of the situations, not all of them, just some of the little storylines were a little immature. Some of the things that the characters do were a little juvenile for me, but it doesn't change the fact that I absolutely loved this book. Absolutely loved this book, if I have not already said it. 5 out of 5 stars. It was just so wonderful. This is definitely a book that I want to get a physical copy of and definitely reread. I heard there's a movie coming out. I know there's also a soundtrack that goes with it because Tommy Wallach is also a musician. And throughout the book, there are songs that are being referenced because one of the characters is a singer and one of the main characters is a musician. And there are different songs being referenced, and there's actually an album, so you can actually hear these songs that are being referenced throughout this book. And they're all original songs, and I absolutely loved them. It was so good, so wonderful. It's definitely one of those books that definitely brought so many emotions. It was so deep for me. It was very sad at some points. Like I said, I'll leave most of my kind of comments and feels for the full review, but just know this was an absolutely wonderful, wonderful book, and I loved mostly every minute of it. It was just so good, so good, and you guys need to check it out if you haven't already. So that is it for my August wrap-up. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this video wasn't too long. I had a pretty awesome reading month. I have not read this many books in one month probably ever in my life. So I'm very excited and very proud of myself for having read so many books in 1 month. I'm very excited to get to the next month, and that will definitely be in another video because this video is probably running long at this point. So let me know if you guys have read any of these books and what your thoughts and feelings were on them and everything. And yeah, and I will see you guys next time.